friendo, Steve here. And no, Larson's still not here. However, I do have some news about these Global Force Wrestling reviews that I'm doing here at MF Steve here. I have reached out to various wrestling websites and news organizations to see if Global Force Wrestling Steve Impact reviews can perhaps find a broader audience. And the good people over there at Going In Raw will be hosting these GFW Impact reviews over on their channel starting next week. All I did was just say, hey, Larson, do you want me to start putting these things on our channel instead of just my channel? And he says, I think he literally said, if you want to, go ahead. I don't think he cares. He's still not going to be, from what I mean, look, it's Larson. He has an open invite to be on these anytime he wants. It's just the logistics of him having to watch 2 hours of a program he really doesn't feel like watching. And it's like GFW is non-essential programming at this point still. It's still non-essential programming. And so I don't expect him to be on these reviews. It's still just going to be me. Here's the deal. On Friday mornings, I have 2 extra hours in my day to watch the show and then film this recap. So it's still just going to be me, but it's going to be on the Going In Raw channel because why not? We cover wrestling there, and one guy is better than no guys covering GFW over there. So I'm still going to be active on this MF Steve here channel. Going to be doing more stuff with the wife, with Lacey, and maybe I'm going to dive back into some more Friendo Workshop art stuff because I've been itching to do some more drawing lately. And I'm also thinking about doing some like WWE Universe stuff. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. It's my channel. I just sort of dick around and whatever happens, happens. So anyways, let's move on to this Impact review. This is for 7/27/2017. First off, we had a bunch of recaps. What's been going on? Alberto Del Rio, LAX tried to get him to join. He says no, and they said yes, and they beat him up. And so this week it was announced that Alberto Del Rio is going to be taking on all of LAX. So we'll see how that turned out later. First of all, though, the mayor of Orlando, apparently, I forget his name, was the ring announcer. He did a serviceable job. If I didn't know it was the mayor of Orlando, I just figured they'd get a new ring announcer guy, but apparently he's the mayor of Orlando. Next up, or first off, to sort of kick off the show, we had a brief bit with Joe Parks, a.k.a. Abyss, in his human form, sort of egging on Grado, trying to get Grado, get his nerve up to ask Laurel Van Ness later on in the show to marry him. So that was sort of a little setup there. But in the ring, we had 6-man tag action. Last week, I totally messed up. I thought that the EC3, who was EC3 Eli Drake versus Eddie Edwards and Moose, I think. I thought that was a tag match, and it wasn't. It was a fatal 4-way. But at no point, from what I can tell, did the faces ever actually fight the faces. And I don't think I saw the heels fight it. So it felt like a tag match. I don't know what the deal with that is. But apparently it was just a fatal 4-way. This 6-man tag match, however, featured EC3, Chris Adonis, and Eli Drake taking on Eddie Edwards, Moose, and Marufuji. Again, Moose disappointed by not air guitaring. He is quickly losing favor with this GFW reviewer by not air guitaring. He still does this when he comes down. So, yeah, there you go. What have you. Let's see here. Anyways, it was a fun match. It was a typical 6-man tag match, kind of a clusterfuck. EC3 ended up going over after a low blow on Moose. After Moose was attempting to choke slam him, the ref was distracted. EC3 hits the low blow, and then his new finish, called the EC Driver, the Ethan Carter Driver, the ECD is what he's calling it. It's like a driver on Moose, so it's good stuff. EC3 goes over. That's actually going to lead next week to a match for Moose's Grand Championship. Is that what it's called? I don't know. It's that weird thing with the rules. Anyways, next up we had Interview Bot from GFW, and she stumbles upon somebody named Richard Justice, which obviously is another way of saying Dick Justice. But his gimmick, he's a fat guy with a funny hair. He kind of looks like Nacho Libre, but an American version. And he says, I am the that's his gimmick, standby wrestler. So he's just warming up, ready to be called in case he's needed. Don't know where that's going to go. Mildly decent setup for what's probably going to be a comedy thing. Next up, we had like a weird video package promo for something. I couldn't tell what it was, though. I think they said something like OVE. Maybe I got that wrong. You guys in the comments can be like this. All right, Steve, come on. This is obviously blah, 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 whatever it is. You know, get your shit together, man. If you guys haven't noticed, GFW is like the equivalent of non-news, but an actual wrestling promotion to me. I'm trying. I really am. I'm trying to learn. I watch the damn show. I just don't know everything. Next up, Lashley comes out. He drops a promo. He's talking about how there's a pecking order. Ever since he's been here in TNA, GFW, there's been a pecking order, and now people are just trying to cut in front of him, cut in front of the pecking order. And he says he will break people who try to cut in line like he did last week. And he calls out Bruce Pritchard so that he says, I'm the man around here. I'm going to tell Bruce Pritchard what the next match that I'm going to be in is, and it's going to be a title match at Destination X. And Bruce comes out and says, hold on a second there, Bobby. You don't really get to say that. But then, before he can really say anything, Matt Sydal comes out and says, I will not be ignored. Lashley tries to ignore him, but then railroads him. And then Matt Sydal gets the upper hand on Lashley, hits a shooting star press, which is going to set up a match, I think, next week, or maybe at Destination X. I don't know. I didn't catch it, for a number one contendership. So Lashley and Sydal are going to fight for number one contendership. Whoever wins that will go on to face Alberto El Patron for his Unified Championships. We should be coming up on, I think, like mid-August, they're going to debut the actual, like, singular titles, like the belts, the actual belts. That's cool. I wonder if they're going to be called GFW Impact titles? Probably. Anyways, next up, Davey Richards, who recently has said that he wants to move on from wrestling and pursue his, I think it was Davey Richards, pursue his doctorate. But anyways, this is part of the Super X Cup. He took on Ishimura, the longest reigning, according to them, the longest reigning junior heavyweight in pro wrestling Noah history. That's cool. That's a pretty big accolade right there. Anyways, and the commentators are kind of saying, Davey Richards, is he really an X Division guy? Should he be in the Super X Cup? Because Super X Cup is X Division shit, isn't it? I think so. I don't know. Anyways, this is a fun match. Davey Richards at one point tried to bring in a chair, but the ref said no. This isn't like a no DQ match. It's a Super X Cup match. Ishimura was very impressive. He did a lot of the flippy shit. Ended up winning with the 450 splash. So kudos to him for moving on. So coming up in the semifinals for the Super X Cup is going to be Drago, that dude from outer space, versus Desmond Xavier. Or is it Xavier Desmond? I think it's Desmond Xavier. And then ACH is going to be taking on Ishimura. That should be a really fun match. So looking forward to that. Next up, we had Bruce Pritchard announcing Lashley versus Matt Sydal, number one contender. I already mentioned that. After that, this was fun. It was the last knockout standing match. It was the last man standing match between Sienna, the current unified GFW Impact Wrestling champion, knockout champion, and Rosemary, of course, that crazy chick with all the face paint. This is a fun match because it was, like I said, a last man standing match, no DQ. Started off, they were brawling in the crowd. They get back in the ring. They set up a table in one of the corners. There was a cool spot where Sienna dropped Rosemary with an AK-47, so she has her up, and then she just sort of drops him on her front, stomach down, from the apron to the floor, though. That was a really fun spot. KM, who I guess is with Sienna as her male companion, was distracting Rosemary after Rosemary had set up Sienna against the table with a trash can in front of her. So she was going to do something crazy there. But when she got up to the top turnbuckle, KM distracted her. Sienna was able to come up, push Sienna off onto and through a table that was set up there on the floor. Rosemary was completely knocked out. Ref counted 10. Sienna showed some signs of life. Rosemary did not. Sienna goes over. She's still unified champion. Next up, Joe Parks was telling Grado to go put your suit on because this is about to happen. Let's see here. Next up, we had Alberto El Patron. By the way, his trunks tonight said AP, not ADR. So I suppose at this point, I can start referring to Alberto Del Rio properly as Alberto El Patron, unless he busts out those trunks again, in which case I'm going to start calling him Alberto Del Rio again. I think that's fair. Anyways, he's backstage with his familia, giving an interview saying, LAX, they don't know who they are. They don't know where they're going. I am Alberto El Patron. I do. We're good. They're bad, etc., etc. Next up, my favorite wrestler in GFW, Trevor Lee, comes down. He's still holding the X Division title. He's still wearing it. He comes out, drops a promo saying, I'm going to fight the best luchador on the planet. Out comes Octagoncito, the little mini dude from Mexico. He comes out. They have a match. Trevor Lee's wearing the title the entire time. Octagoncito ends up winning, but he didn't win the title because Trevor Lee technically doesn't own the title. He's not the champion right now. Although he's proving week after week why he really should be. And this storyline is absolutely bizarre and hilarious. Sanjay Dutt comes out, and Sanjay Dutt is actually the X Division. This makes zero sense, but it's hilarious. Sanjay Dutt is actually the X Division champion. But he's been banned from like the Impact Zone. I have no idea why. I can't even tell if Bruce Pritchard is supposed to be a heel or if he's some Kafka-esque authority figure who is like, it's like this. Sanjay Dutt is the champion. He should be upset. He should be able to attack Trevor Lee and get his title back, but nobody's doing anything about it, and they're literally keeping him away from it. I don't know why. It's weird. It's hilarious, though, and I love every second of it. Next up, we are in LAX's clubhouse, which makes me very happy. That's my favorite backstage scenes, or when they're in the LAX clubhouse. And so it's sort of established there. We kind of get the idea that the match with Alberto El Patron and LAX is going to be a gauntlet match, right? So Conan is strategizing. He's telling each person what order you're going to fall in. And so I didn't really know the names of LAX guys until like today, until I had to look them up. But he looks over, last week I was talking about how the guy to Conan's right mumbles a lot. Well, that turns out is a guy named Homicide. And Conan says, this kid. But the funny thing is, I had to look up who it was because Conan didn't say his name during the segment. He says, yeah, you know what? You know who's going to go first, man? This guy right here. You, man, you're going to. It was like, I don't know. It was like a video, like a RPG video game where you don't get to choose your name, or like they can't, like the voice actor, you can choose your name, but the voice actor will never say your name. You, man, you're going to be up, champ. You're good, Tiger. You're going to be first. This guy, OG, that's what he called me. He said, OG, this guy right here. And the guy's like, oh, all right, cool. And he's all mumbling. And then they all salute with their, they all do the toast, but they're like a bunch of empty fake beer cans or beer bottles. It's like, make them beer cans so you can't tell they're empty. These are all just empty. It's just like the same batch of beer bottles that have been sitting here every single week. Anyways, I don't know. Those are endlessly amusing to me because they're equal parts cool as shit and really corny. So I don't know. It's rare that you can get a combo like that. Grado finally comes out wearing an ill-fitting orange tux, like an old school 80s tux, and then like a spray tan on his face. So he's like super orange. Laurel Van Ness comes out. Sienna tries to stop her from her coming out. She's trying to reason with her, but Laurel Van Ness obviously is crazy. So Sienna just goes back to the back. See, I like that. Sienna just went through a brutal match, but then she can still insert herself, or she can still kind of tangentially be a part of other stories. It's a big shared universe. I like that. Like Roman Reigns not helping the Shield doesn't make a lick of sense. Anyways. The funniest part about this too is as Laurel Van Ness was coming down, Pope, who I really like, one of the commentary guys, says something like, "Hey, to each their own. I think Laurel Van Ness is for some reason strikingly stunning." And it came out of nowhere. Both the other guy, Josh Matthews and what's his face, the fat guy, says, "Wait, what?" And he says, "Yeah, man, I can't explain it. I like her." Oh, God. I don't know. I thought that was pretty amusing. I like Pope. He's funny. Anyways, Grado's going on. He asks her, basically says, "You're beautiful." He's got Joe Parks in his ear. Say this, say that. And Grado finally gets to the point and says, he's like, "Will you marry me?" And while she's sort of doing her crazy, look thing and figuring out if she's going to say yes or no or how to talk, Allie comes out and she's excited about something. I don't know. She's like, yeah, do something. I don't, because I know that she was like part of that whole marriage storyline. So I don't think she should be like trying to encourage Laurel Van Ness. So I don't know why she's out there. But I mean, it became obvious pretty soon because Braxton Sutter, who is now transitioning into a domestic abuse heel, comes down and like drags her back out. I don't know. He was wearing something weird too. He was wearing like skinny jeans. Anyways, he was wearing like skinny capri shorts. Anyways. Anyways, but before she can actually give him an answer, Congo Kong comes out and his breasts are all over the place, man. It's like one layer and then two layers and a layer over here on the side. There's like 5 different breasts going on there at the same time. But he's a cool looking guy. He comes out and Laurel Van Ness and him have kind of a, monster and object of his affection type thing going on, and she's telling him to chill out. Grado got out of there. Joseph Parks got out of there, and she was just telling him, you and your big boobs need to relax, dude. That led to our main event, which was Homicide. Oh, yeah, so it was LAX versus Alberto El Patron. Homicide started out first. He got beat by Alberto El Patron. Then Ortiz, I had to look these names up. Then Ortiz was next. He got beat by Alberto El Patron with like a double stomp from the top. And then Santana came in, and he was getting beat by Alberto El Patron, but Conan interfered. Then the girl, LAX Diamante, she goes up to the top turnbuckle, tries to throw a flying crossbody onto Alberto. He grabs her in midair, throws her out of the ring onto, I think, Conan or Homicide or somebody. But then the rest of LAX just come in, storm the ring, DQ, ref throws it out. They all attack Alberto El Patron. Alberto's brother comes in. He starts getting beat on. Alberto's dad comes in. He has a chair, but he doesn't really do anything with it. And then out of nowhere, the veterans of war, this tag team, Mayweather and Wilcox, they come down and make the save. So they're going to be his friends now. I can't figure out if that Veterans of War gimmick is offensive or not. If either of these guys or both these guys have actually seen combat or they were veterans in any way, then I think I'd be okay with this gimmick. If they're not, that presents a big problem because you shouldn't be saying you're a veteran if you're not a veteran, even if it's a wrestling gimmick. Was Sergeant Slaughter an actual veteran? Let's find out. Sergeant Slaughter, I have to believe he was. Let's see if he was. Let's see here. He wrestled and played. He legitimately enlisted in the Marine Corps and was a drill instructor. All right, so he's totally legit. Nice, look at that. So Sergeant Slaughter, not offensive. Veterans of War, undecided, but it's all in good fun. It's just wrestling. Who cares, really? So that's my Global Force Wrestling review. Stay tuned. Next week, youtube.com/Steven Larson. It's going to officially be part of the Going in Raw family, which means you're going to get it in audio form as well. And I'll probably make more money off it because I'll get more views on that channel because I have a lot more subs. But keep your eyes on this channel because I'm going to be doing a lot more cool things. I'm going to be doing stuff. Lacey's going to be doing stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's just keep that wrestling stuff to that channel is the plan. Talk to you guys later.